Okay, should be able to hear me. Sorry I'm a bit late. Of course, my browser decided 2 minutes to the hour. That's when it needed to reload. So, new browser, everything should go smoothly. And I'm here and gonna make some interesting things tonight. I was thinking of grinding all these up to make the foam from the stuff you've seen from the last week's video, but you don't need to hear a coffee grinder on an hour-and-a-half stream. So that's for a later time for myself when y'all are not here. So 3 things going on tonight. I'm going to try to speed run an EVA house. That's a house made out of EVA foam. That's the rubber foam that's used in like floor mats. I've got some animal hides because some reptile hides, the little caves, because a friend of mine has several geckos and was just interested if I could build one. So I've already built some, but I will probably try to build some more. I may get around to putting like a plaster coating on it so it looks like rock. We shall see. But I will definitely be crafting some more actual little houses, or little hides. You'll see. These are the reptile houses. And pretty straightforward. They sit there. It just looks like a rock. And the lizards or snakes or frogs or whatever can run in there, hide, feel safe. I've got a couple different ones I made. This one's made out of pure trash. This is actually packaging material. Sorry, the white doesn't really show up on camera. It gets washed out, but you get the idea. And here's one I made with scraps I had left over of the XPS foam. So I've got EPS foam and XPS foam. And I'm going to make a couple more of those, see if I can make a slightly less bland design. But that's just playing around. I will also be making some houses, like for minis gaming, out of EVA foam. I will either be using the thick stuff I use on the floor, or I will be using the thinner stuff that's like 5mm. That's one of the craft foams. So we shall see. But before that, I thought y'all might want to see sort of a background behind the scenes look of how I keep all my thoughts in order, because I am too creative for my own good. So I have books that have all of my different builds in them. I've got drawings of things, I've got diagrams, I've got some things just say, hey, build this, and I sketch everything before I actually build it. So some of these have more sketches in them than others. These are about 80 pages per book, and I have 5 of these, so I have probably way too many. That's my newest one, so it doesn't have a lot of drawings yet. Coming off, I'll have to retape that. So, anybody sticking around? Somebody showed up, but then wandered off. Let me know if you can hear me. I know that was an issue 2 weeks ago. So here's one that's got a lot of my diagrams of things that I will build in the future. But the one I'm actually interested in right now is this one, because it has some builds in it and some ideas for videos that I haven't put into my other ones yet. So like, no, this isn't the one. Confusing myself. Okay. Sorry, couldn't see my chat window for a second there. Reopen that. All right. Well, this one's a business-related one. Oh, skip that one. Not that one. Yeah, see things like pergolas, harbors, tiles. These are elevated tiles so that you can fit things under them like wiring. Creating spell effects. This was designed for laser cut on my, to cut out of plastic. These are the boats that I was originally going to build. This is not what I ended up building. You'll see that in a soon coming video. Here's an overly complicated idea for a market stall. Not going to build it that way. So I have more ideas than I know what to do with. So Now you've seen a little bit of the behind the scenes. Let me clear this all out and I will get to work on the EVA stuff. This is my actual short list of builds. This is the actual what I'm going to build basically next, and I've got about 5 or 10 things on here. The lizard huts, that's these that I'm talking about. Foam flock, that's the thing you saw me painting last week. There will be a video on me grinding that, on showing some painting and me grinding that up. Using faux plants, the tiny parts of them as fruit and veg, that's going to be an upcoming one, etc., etc., etc. But for right now, EVA houses. This is EVA foam. This is this type that goes on the floor. It's generally smooth on one side. That's the side that's supposed to go down. The other side usually has a texture that's so it's grippy on your feet. This one, I tend to use, I don't use that side that much, unless I'm doing like industrial, postmodern stuff where it's, you know, where it's supposed to look like floor grading, that type of thing. I usually use this, and you can pattern this a whole bunch of ways. I've got a video on, actually, I think either my most popular or one of my most popular videos is on how to texture EVA foam. So I'm going to be doing a bit of that tonight. I got, the way I'm doing it tonight is I'm going to use a hot tool to carve stone and brickwork into it, which means we'll need a breather. I've already got a fan on, got enough ventilation, but I will need a breather for that. Always wear a breather anytime you get EVA hot. And I need to stop talking about what I'm going to do and get around to the doing. So, give me just a second. Okay, this is two or one? I don't know. Call it 1.5 millimeter. So 1/8 of an inch, something like that. I only use this for trim really because it doesn't have any structure to it. I also sometimes, if something's got a lot of texture that I don't want, I can use this to cover that up and mask it. But that's not the one I'm looking for. Give me just a moment and I will be right back. Oh, there you are. Hello. Can you hear me? That's the question. Good to see you, Elsie. So, let me go grab some more foam and I will be right back. Okay, I am back with some foam. This is what it normally looks like if you're buying the stuff that's for like workout gym rooms or put down in your garage for when you're working, that sort of thing. As you can see, as I said before, got the texture on the one side, smooth on the other. These are 2 feet by 2 feet. They generally come in a 4-pack with some edge strips that smooth it off so you don't have the puzzle piece all the way around the edge. Some people call this puzzle mat. It does come in brighter colors for like children's playrooms and things like that. Some of them have like animals or the alphabet or numbers on them. And they come in all sorts of different thicknesses. This one is marketed as 1/2 inch. but I've never found one that's half-inch. They range anywhere from 8 to 12 millimeters. So never quite a half-inch, because that would be 12.5 millimeters. So you just have to make sure that if you're going to build something, you need it consistent. Even if it's just your floor and you don't want any little edges on it, you want to make sure that you get a bunch from the same batch, or you compare the sizes when you're getting them. For what I'm doing, that would be less necessary because I work in little small pieces and I can stick them together how I want. But I'm going to show you how I turn this big square sheet into strips that I will then use for walls for the little buildings I'm building. And I have decided how I'm going to hide the edge so that I can make this a super, super simple build, and I will be using these later. These being the 1 millimeter ones I already showed you. So let me switch to top down. As you can see, 2 by 2. Got that other piece under it. Don't do that. Put that to the side. More on my pins. Okay, so first thing we want to do is you want to get as straight an edge as possible. You don't have to be really perfect about it for what we're doing, since you just don't have to be perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a straight edge all along this edge, this inner edge here, and cut all these little nubbins off. Now these can be used for things later. I always save these. I've got a whole collection of EVA offcuts that I use for rocks and rubble and platforms and all sorts of things. Mostly in the middle of a game, I'll be like, oh wait, I need a platform, and I'll just stack some up. So let me show you how I get that straight. I had a very good friend of mine got their significant other, who is a metal fabricator, to make me a straight edge. This is just a sheet of metal that's folded 90 degrees, and then this edge is rolled over, and this edge is rolled over. You can use any straight edge that will work for you. Anything you've got that'll work. Now, you probably want something that's metal or really heavy-duty plastic, because we are going to be cutting right along this. And when I do that, I don't want to cut into like a wooden ruler or something like that. For all of my UK friends, sorry, I call it a ruler, not a rule. That's the thing. All right, so I don't know if you can see that, but this right here is not going to quite come there, so I'm just going to move that just a little, just to make sure that the blade will get all the way through it. Now, EVA dulls blades really quickly, and also can tear if the blade is dull. So you want to make sure you get a really good sharp blade. This one's brand new. And you want to take it in low passes with the knife. But what I mean by that is I want to take it, and I don't want to cut like this. I want to cut like this. I want to keep the blade vertical, but I want the run of the blade as low as possible so they have the maximum cutting at an angle. And then multiple slow passes. And just like that, they've all come loose. Wipe those up, save them for later. So now I'm going to store them in one of these little reptile houses. And now we have a relatively straight edge to start from. Again, this is going to be a fantasy house on a gaming table, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Now, I like to build my walls 2.5 to 3 inches tall, depending. This one, I generally make a floor or a story of my buildings 3 inches. Some people think that that's too large for theirs. My scale, I build in 148. So 148 would mean 1 inch is 4 feet. So this would be 12 feet. So if I'm building a 3-inch tall floor, it's actually 12 feet when a story is actually about 10 feet tall. So 2.5 inches is correct, but I tend to build larger anyway, just because some of the minis are carrying spears or things like that. But for this, because I already know I'm going to have a gabled roof that'll make it look right, and this is not going to be a playable interior. This is just going to be just a point down house that's just part of a town. It's not going to be playable interior. If I want to play in the interior, I'll just use a small platform and use that. So I'm going to make all of these 2.5 inches. I do that with, you can use whatever you want, but I'm going to use a speed square here. And, nope, I'm going to push it. Okay, I'm going to start about here. Put that at 2.5. And just slide along that at a couple places. That's 2.5 inches. Give or take. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. These end pieces I'm not going to take off because I'm going to be cutting these into smaller pieces anyway. I can take care of those as the need comes up. So that's my 2.5 inch mark. Again, long, slow passes. Long, low passes. Doesn't have to be slow. Long, low passes. Keep the blade vertical. Okay, that's one. Now, I learned many, many, many years ago, always gauge when you can rather than measure. So I'm going to use this one to make all the others. And I'm going to use up this whole sheet into this size. No, about half this, because I will need some for roofs and things like that. But I may make the roofs out of card instead. So, take that, lay it there. Always gauge from the same one. So I'm going to be using this as my gauge to cut this one. Then the one I cut, I will put off to the side and use this as my gauge again. I'm just butting these two edges up here. And then long, slow passes. I keep saying slow when I mean low. Now this will try to get away from you, so just be careful to keep it lined up. And once you've got it cut, you can just use the cut to do it again. I say that and then promptly cut it wrong. Huh. Well, what are you going to do? Sorry about that. When I get concentrating, I get quiet. But I'm still here. Still talking. All right. That should be enough wall for at least 4 houses. Sorry, at least 2 houses. 4 walls per house. So I'll probably do 2 more strips. We'll try to make 4 houses out of this. Long, low cut. And I can tell that my knife is already getting dull. Like I said, this EVA dulls them quick. If you can, I strongly suggest getting one of these diamond sharpeners. It's got a rough side. This one has a rough side and a smooth side. I don't need the rough side. I'm not trying to repair the blade. Just need a new edge on it. So we're going to hone that real quick. If you like that sound, congratulations on the ASMR. If you hate that sound, sorry, didn't think about it beforehand. Okay, let's cut one more strip. Long, low passes. Oh, yeah. Sharper blade makes all the difference. Okay. Cut off one little piece here. Put that with my other scraps. Okay, now I have 4 strips. That should be enough to get started on houses. I'm going to make these houses 16 feet by 20 feet. That's 4 inches by 5 inches. I'm going to start with the front and rear walls. Those are going to be 5 inches. The house is going to be a little bit wider than they are deep. So I'm going to start with 5-inch walls, and then I'm going to have to adjust the measurements on the side based on 4 inches minus 2 wall thicknesses. So this piece I'm going to keep. Don't want to run off with that because we're going to use that for a couple other trim pieces and such in a minute. Okay, now for this, want that speed square again. I don't know where I put it. Here it is. And I'll take that And for that, I will use that to make the, I kept saying that, that first edge straight. Sharp blade is better blade. Okay, now, this is already graduated on it, so I will just take that and make 2 little marks at 5 inches. Then put the square across there. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, especially if you're playing with a in case anybody doesn't see the chat later, Lucy Collected said, I usually build stories a bit bigger than most folks just to give room for people's hands to move minis around. And that's absolutely true. I have been going back and forth for years over, do I build it so that the house lifts off and leaves the floor so I can move without walls? But I like to see where the windows are for like the rogues coming in or people firing out of them for using them as cover. I also like to have art on the walls, things like that. So wall sconces, whatever. So sometimes I build it where the roof comes off and leaves the walls. And when I have the walls, some people like the shorter ones so they can move their hands. I have seen somebody build a half wall where like it's stone for the first part and half timber on the top part, and the half timber lifts off and leaves like a 1/2 inch wall at the bottom. And that's an interesting idea, but I've never done that. The problem is the smaller you make the room and the taller the walls, the harder it is to get a hand in there, and the harder it is for people across the table to see down into that box. So these, I'm not worrying about any of that because these are not going to have playable interiors. I'm just building. Technically, these are prototypes for a later project I've got in mind. So these are just simple town huts. Again, I said I like to gauge rather than measure everything. So I am using that piece I just cut off that's 5 inches. See that on the thing is 5 inches. And I'm just taking that and using that to cut each of my next pieces. Again, this is going to, you always want to gauge from the same piece. You don't want to gauge from, you don't want to cut this one, then use it, and then cut that one and use it. You want to use the same one to gauge with. So I'll set the one I cut off to the side. Use the first one again. Okay, long, slow cut. It looks like that the amount of strips I cut is going to be about enough to make, ooh, I am not in focus. Is going to be about enough to make three houses. So now I know 3 strips across this is 3 houses, or 4 strips across this is 3 houses. This piece will get used. Don't toss it. So that's one. Now I'm not going to sit those by there because I'm still going to use the same one to gauge off the next several pieces. Oh, yeah. For Mordheim, you definitely want that because you want room to reach your hand in. If you're building for Mordheim or Frostgrave or there's another one specifically, but any of those where you have to build, where the town is supposed to be ruined and all of the buildings tend to be wrecked, it gives you lots of good vantage places on like broken open buildings where like half of the building is collapsed. So I can absolutely see how you'd want a taller story or a taller floor there so you can get your hand in to place your minis. And to get a better look to, I'm going to be demonstrative here, where you can do a better look of crouching down and looking in to see if you got line of sight behind that wall. So a bigger story is better for that. So, you crafting tonight, LC, or you just watching? And anybody else who's out there, happy to see you. Anybody else out there want to join the chat? Feel free. Okay, got a straight edge on that one. I'm very right-handed, so I tend to work from left to right on this sort of thing. This is so funny. It's almost winter solstice, so the days keep getting shorter, and it's so weird. This is my live streams are from 7 to 8:30 at my time zone, and 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And 6 months from now, it'll still be bright and sunny, and the sun won't even have gone down. But right now, man, it feels like midnight. I am just dragging tonight, but we'll get through it. We will get through it together. Got through that one on one cut. Look at me go. That usually does not happen. Like I said, long, low cuts on this foam. For anybody who is interested in building Warhammer 40K or anything similar, postmodern, futuristic, even if you're building nice and pretty, not, grimdark, war-torn future, these type of mats work perfectly for that because of that texturing that's on there. Because if you put like a little bit of a frame on that, that looks like it's industrial walkway immediately. So something to keep in mind. I typically do not build futuristic stuff. So that's kind of wasted on me, but it is a technique I have in my arsenal should it ever come up. Okay, so as you can see here, I have now made 3 full sets of those. I do not know what is going on with the focus here. See if I can fix that. Nope, no idea how to fix that right now. I know there is a focus, but I don't know that I've ever adjusted it on this camera. So I think so we will switch to this camera instead. All right. So I now have, oh, that's not 3 houses. That's 6 houses. My bad. Okay, so I'm now going to take 2 of these. These are now the front and rear of the house. And I need a back. So I need to know exactly how thick these are. And as I said before, they come in different thicknesses. So I'll go ahead and measure that. These happen to be, let's call those 11 millimeters thick each. Yes, I just switched from imperial to metric, but it's easier than trying to say 13/16 and have people get their heads around that. I'm a carpenter, so 13/16 makes sense to me, but not everybody does that. So I'm going to be cutting this at 13/16 or 22 millimeters, give or take, however you want to say that, minus the 4 inches that I want. So I want 4 inches minus this thickness. Now, it sounds like I'm going to take that and measure all of that out and figure all that out and pull out all sorts of tools to get that. And what I am actually going to do is I'm going to take these 2 pieces and I am going to make a mark at 4 inches. And then I'm going to take those. You won't be able to see this because the camera's on the wrong side, but see if I can turn it around. I'm just so right-handed. Then I'm going to take those 2 pieces and, nope, I will do it this way. I'm putting those against that mark. And then simply cutting along them. That way I don't have to actually measure what size this needs to be. And then I will take this piece and I will use it to gauge my next. I guess I'm making 6 of them, so I need 12 of these. So, super exciting to watch me cut foam and go all quiet, isn't it? Okay, so that's 3 houses worth so far. I've got to get 3 houses out, and I don't have enough strip. So we're going to see if this is long enough. It is not. So that will not work. So I'm going to cannibalize some of my other ones And I guess I'm going to end up with 5 houses. So I will then take I need 10 total. There's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm still going to come up short. That is okay. I don't need to build them all tonight. I can build 4. Be perfectly happy with that. And you can, if depending on how you're putting the trim on your house and things like that, you can take these and butt them up against each other, glue those together, and then have like a trim strip or something like that down the house. And I may end up doing that with some of these, but for right now, there's no need. Okay. So I now have 9 of those. That's enough for 4 houses. That's my gauge. I'll set that off to the side. That's my gauge. One of these is my gauge piece. This one. Nope. Huh. Oh, that's it. That's the one. Okay, so my tea is heating up. Or not my tea, my hot glue is heating up, so I'm going to drink my tea. So, what's everyone working on tonight? I'm working on trying to speed run some house builds, and I am possibly going to get to putting texture onto these reptile huts. This is a project for a friend of mine who's got some geckos. These are going to be, I can't decide I'm doing, thanks for joining in, Trev. I can't decide if I'm going to make these look like brick or make them look like stone. I think I'm going to make these stone huts, and I'm going to use a hot tool to carve the stones into the texture. I could also do that instead by putting, by cutting the textures in with just a hobby knife, you know, X-Acto's type pointy hobby knife, and then when you hit it with a heat gun, that wherever you've cut pulls apart and leaves a groove. And I may do that if I'm doing the bricks, because it works really well for bricks, because it's really easy to do all of the things and you can keep it uniform. I know these are 2.5 inches tall, so I can make each brick either a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch tall, probably a 1/2 inch, make them look big and chunky, because the look isn't important to this build so much as having the houses. So bigger bricks take less time to cut, less chance of making mistakes because it's less cuts, and they're farther apart from each other, so you don't have they're not as fiddly. So okay, it says that you are buffering, so I don't know how to fix that because I am on Wi-Fi down here. So if it's buffering, I apologize. And I'm just going to keep going until it drops. But I don't think it's going to drop. And hey, the warning went away. I don't know if you can hear me, so I'm going to chat in the window. Okay, I started a new stream in OBS, which is the behind the scenes chat thing. But so far, YouTube has not told me it has caught up to that. So I may not be doing anything tonight. But I have not ended the YouTube stream. It's still going. It's just saying that my other program's not working. So I may have to close that out entirely and come back. I don't know how many of you run your own YouTube things out there, but it keeps saying open widget. And when I open the widget doesn't tell me anything. It says there's an error. I'm like, yes, I know there's an error. We recommend you use a higher bit rate. Okay, give me the hardware. I will gladly accept the gift. And it keeps dropping. It keeps dropping and dropping and dropping. So this may be the end for tonight, or I don't know. I see what you did there, Hacksaw. And thanks for coming by. And good to know, Mrs. Lynn. I appreciate that you comment that you can still hear me. The cameras are, this one's a Logitech. That's a 1080 Pro something that's like the 2 generations ago. This one that you're seeing me on is about a $30 cheapo, but it does for what I need. And the one above me, which I don't know if you can see it, this one is somewhere in between those two, but both of these two are kind of no names. This one that I'm pointing at, the one above me, is a sort of a knockoff of the Logi, but definitely the Logi. This one right here works better. So this is my best camera. So I do want to excuse me. I do want to texture all of my walls before I glue them together. So I will be doing that in just a moment. I will be using a separate cutting board for that because if I use the heat tool, which I will use it one way or the other, the heat gun, the hot gun, that has a tendency to melt my cutting mat. So let's not do that. So other cutting board it is. I want to do the big walls first because I already know that they are each going to have a door right in the middle, and I build my doors to a certain size, so I know that I can find the middle of that, the middle of these pieces, and go 3/4 of an inch out on either side because I build my doors. My doors are 3/4 of an inch wide, and then they have a frame around them, so it comes out to be an 1 1/4 inch. So I know, which is 5/4, so I know I can go 5/8 out from that center line on each one, and I don't have to texture in that spot. Well, it says it's still going, but buffering. It hasn't cut out yet, and I have really no way to fix that without a total reboot. So let me know if you want me to try a second stream here in a few minutes, or if you want to just, if it drops, it drops. Let me know how you feel in the comments. Yeah, they're definitely webcams, but they tend to not have the issue. The issue is that it's the computer I have fit my budget at the time. I was designed to record video, not stream. It is not really built for that. So there's no, I do have a far better than the computer video card in the computer. The card is much better, but it still tends to overwhelm the entire system. What I should have done instead of this is get a door and trace around it, but that's all right. We're here now. Again, I have 9 of these. I don't need 9. I need 8. How's this? So 5 8 to either side. Is about there. And then, now that's the door. And then, so my frame's going to be 1.25 inches. Let's just say 1 inch. So there we go. And back to that again. All I'm doing is marking out the spots that I don't actually have to texture. Okay, so all right, I may or may not be here loosely collected, but thank you for dropping by. And I forgot your real name, but you can tell me in one of the Discords. So I apologize for that, but thank you for stopping by. Have a great one. Yeah, the OBS is the bane of this, not really the computer. And OBS has had some updates and stuff lately, but I'm not sure they were improvements so much as just changes. I don't know enough about them. That's not a complaint or commenting one way or the other. I genuinely don't know. I do know that my computer will not handle if I have like two cameras on at once. If I have 2 cameras on at once, that definitely stutters. It did that last week, and I learned that lesson quick. All right, so 1.5 inches up is give or take there. So that lets me know that I don't have to texture anything in that space. Anything in this little rectangle delineated here, I'm not even going to bother texturing. I think I am going to go with stonework on these. So I can, because I'm going to paint over these anyway, I can use a marker to start drawing some stones. And I'm just going to draw those freehand on each one and then go over them with the knife, which I safely put away right when I was done with it, because of course I did. And then I'll hit those with a heat gun and you'll see them open up. So now you're just watching me freehand rocks on a thing until my stream drops out. If my stream drops out, I will reboot the computer entirely and try for stream number 2, Crafting Boogaloo. Okay, now these are going to match up like this. I could go through the process of matching all of the textures and all of that, but I'm not going to because I have a way I'm going to mask these corners, which you will see in a bit. If I don't get these done by 8:30, you'll see them next week because I'll just put these off to the side and work on my boats for this week. Because those dinghies are not done. Video-wise are not done. I've got a lot of dinghies, but I don't have the video produced for them yet. This is sucking the ink out of this pen. Let me use a different pen. freehanding some rocks. Yeah, it's still saying it's having problems. So oh, I've seen you. I thought I'd seen you as loosely collected on Discord as well, but Burning Heart. I don't know that I know we share Discords, but I'm not sure which ones. Good to meet you, Jonathan. I go by Cross. I am that guy Cross. I am your local host in the basement. I used to say resident basement dweller, but I know like 4 other crafters that also craft from their basements, so I am a resident basement dweller. But it's nice to put Burning Heart and Loosely Collected together as one, because now that I know that. Man, it's a big rock to have over a door. In for a penny, in for a pound. For you Americans that have no idea what that saying means, the British also have pennies. That is what's the modern equivalent would be? Go home or go big or go home? Or all in, I guess is one of the other ones. The opposite of that, in American English, we would say like, good enough. And I guess the British equivalent would be screw it, we're going to Nando's. Never been to a Nando's. Never been to Britain. If I knew that I could get somebody that could send it across the ocean, like packaged safely, and try to get me one, I would try to get some. But I have the feeling that with the way the British Post is going currently, it would take 6 months to get to me, and I would not want it. So, if I ever make it to Britain, I guess Nando's is on the list. And all the international foods like that, the one that really irritates me is we have an Australian restaurant, or the store here that's Australian oriented, that's an Australian lady that runs it. And we also have a British store that's essentially the equivalent of UK stuff, and both of them sell chicken salt. And neither of them ever has it in stock when I go in. They carry it. They sell it all the time. But every time I manage to get in, they're sold out. So I still don't know what chicken salt tastes like. So to all my Australian friends, sorry, I want to, can't. But they do have Tim Tams. So Tim Tam slams, hell yeah. All right, so that's it coming along. And when I'm done with this, I'm going to take the knife and follow all these same lines with the knife. I've got to do this, oh good Lord, this many more times. And then I got to figure out where I'm going to put some windows. I think the windows are going to be on the ends. And yeah, crafting is not quick. In our videos, you always see a 10-minute video and boom, house is done. Yeah, that's not how it works. It's still telling me that I'm still streaming. We just didn't throw the pennies in a harbor. Well, fair. Fair. There's a strange thing in the United States that I don't think ever caught on in England. There are these machines you can find at like amusement parks and oh, what are those things called? The temporary amusement parks that they set up in a parking lot, and then they're there for like 3 weeks, and then they go away. Can't remember what they're called. Anyway, carnivals. What we call carnivals, which is in no way related to carnival. but at carnivals and amusement parks and stuff like that. Anyway, these machines, they have this big crank, and you stick a penny in, and it comes out, and it's bent into like this little curve because it goes through the machine, and it imprints something into the penny, completely destroys the penny. How these are legal, I have no idea, since damaging currency is a crime. But you can get one, like, say you go to, and I'm not calling out any places, no sponsorships. If you go to Six Flags or Disney or anything like that, Niagara Falls, anything like that, you might be able to get Grand Canyon, whatever. You might be able to get one of those. And I just don't think those machines ever, I've never seen anybody in England talk about one. Maybe they have them. I don't know. If you're British, let me know. So normally I would just go through and draw all of the stones on these and then do this, but for the sake of letting everyone see how the heat gun does its thing and all of that, I'm going to start at the middle on this and work my way out and down on these. So all I am doing, this one won't focus. I can try to show you on the top cam. Oh, now it's in focus. Smart. Being a smart butt. Okay, so I'm literally just taking the tip of the knife and barely cutting in, 0.5 millimeter, maybe 1 millimeter, into the foam. And just following the lines I already drew. And I'm going to do that just as many 100 boring times as I did with the ink. Then I'll hit it with a heat gun, and when you do, all of these little lines, all those little gaps will spread apart, and it will make the stones look like they're actually like embedded. Or I can use a hot, yeah, I'm going to do it that way. I'm going to use a hot knife. Now, if you're doing this, you're going to need a mask on, so you already are having trouble with the stream anyway, hearing me. So you may not be able to hear me at all once I put the breather on. I'm going to use my hot tool and carve these in. When I say hot tool, that makes it sound like I've got a specialty tool, and I do, but I got mine for free kind of accidentally, and all it takes is a $3 soldering iron, just one of the cheap ones. Mine is nicer than that, but you don't need this tool. I'll be right back. Let me go grab that. Okay, so this is my good one. It's got adjustable temperatures and all of that. Good Lord, that's dusty. I haven't used that in a while. I've also got this cheapy $3 one that I just picked up randomly somewhere. I don't even know where this is from. Chicago Electric. So I guess this is from Harbor Freight. It works fine. It's just not adjustable on the temperature. You can't decide how hot you want it and all of that. Then I've got, but I don't, and so I don't use that as much because it's not as adjustable. Then there's also these, which is the wire style hot knife that is designed for cutting through XPS foam. This works for surface things to some extent, but it really doesn't work on EVA foam. It just doesn't get hot enough. At least these ones that use the USBs. So, I'm going to use my good one because I have it. But you could just as easily use the $3 cheapo. Enjoy the view of my hat there for a second. Okay. Seems my camera cut out again. Hold on a second. I'm going to reboot. I'm going to come back and try this whole stream over again.